It's not just humans that are on the internet. Your photocopier is probably on the internet. Your elevator in your building is probably connected to the internet. Machines are connected to have sort of diagnosis, and they phone home back to their manufacturer when they need a repairman. You don't have to ask. The result of which is, however, that your photocopier is on the internet, and you may not know that, and someone can hack into your photocopier and see everything you photocopy.
You suggest here that part of the problem is that we have one internet that covers everything. Should we have a number of different internets?
Well, it turns out that, surprisingly to me, this is a big ideological issue and a big debate. Many of the founders of the internet, including friends of mine like Vint Cerf, who's a famous founder of the internet, take great offense when I say we need to break the internet down into trusted networks, open networks, control networks. For example, I don't think the electric power grid, the control system for the electric power grid, ought to be in any way connected to the internet. And yet it is. Now, Con Ed will tell you it's not. But time after time, when experiments have been conducted by the government to see if they could get from the public internet to the control system for power grids, they've been able to do it.
Is that what makes it so attractive to criminals?
Criminals and governments. Increasingly, this is a problem of governments. I think criminals have been on the internet in one way or another for a long time, but now what we're seeing is nation states engaging in huge, large-scale industrial espionage.
And yesterday there was a front-page headline in the New York Times that read, "Hackers said to breach Google password system." Some people think that the attack was made by the Chinese government.
No, I think it was too. And well, in that article, the Google spokesperson says, well, at least we're being upfront about it and we're being transparent, and other companies aren't. And that's right. Google is hardly the only company that's been hacked by the Chinese. Every large company has been hacked by the Chinese.
And why is that the Chinese are our friends? So I could understand North Korea or Iran or some other rogue nation wanting to do this sort of thing, but China's a friend of ours, isn't it?
It's a friend of ours up to a point. It's an economic competitor, and therefore it wants to get our corporate secrets. It wants to take the R&D, the research and development that we've paid for in private corporations and in the government, and get it for free.
Is this government policy, or is this what private individuals are doing with the Chinese government looking the other way, perhaps?
In China, the Chinese government has to authorize anything like this. And so some of it is being done by the Chinese military. Some of it's being done by criminal cartels in China, but clearly with government permission. And
do we know this for sure? Isn't one of the main problems that these kinds of attacks are easily camouflaged? They're easily spoofed, you're right. In the case of some of the Chinese attacks, however, I'm informed by people I trust in this business that they were able to verify with high certainty that it actually was the Chinese government. Well, how do we go about catching cyber criminals and government hackers? Well, getting criminals requires the cooperation of other governments. And places like Russia aren't cooperating. Places like Russia seem to be doing the following. The government is saying to the hackers, you go off and hack. We'll protect you when the Americans or the British issue an arrest warrant for you. We won't do anything about it. We won't help them investigate. And we need something in return. When we ask you for a favor, like The Godfather, when we ask you for a favor, you'll help us out. And they have. They helped the Russian government out in attacking Estonia and in attacking Georgia. Now, what are the Russian hackers looking for when they attack us? Money. The Russian hackers seem to be focused on credit cards, bank accounts, and they've made a lot of money. We're talking in the billions of dollars. In an odd way, isn't this a repeat of the Cold War? We're talking about Russia and China as being engaged in some kind of war against the United States. It's odd, isn't it? And I'm assuming the United States does something similar. We do, with one big distinction. I think the United States probably hacks its way into everything in Russia and China, but we don't take corporate secrets and then turn around and give them to American companies. Now, some people don't believe that. I know there's a big conspiracy theory that the NSA actually is stealing information from Airbus and giving it to Boeing. That really doesn't happen. Are officials more concerned with building up our internet barriers and finding ways of protecting them than finding these attackers?
I wish the government were interested in defending our cyberspace. Because this has become a sort of political issue about regulating cyberspace. Verizon, for example, just won a big suit in federal court. Verizon wanted to establish the fact that the government couldn't regulate the internet, and they won. So right now the government can't regulate the internet under that court ruling. So the government, because of political pressures and lobbyists, is refusing to do some of the things necessary to issue the regulations necessary to make cyberspace more secure.
Have there been cyber attacks against the United States that have been foiled that we know of?
Well, foiled in the sense that there are people who try to get into some of our networks and aren't skilled enough to do that. Yes.
Well, we know that Google was attacked. Has Google been able to prevent the hackers from getting the information they were looking for?
No, I don't think so. But, one of the interesting things about stealing information in cyberspace as compared to stealing anything in virtual space, if you come to work in the morning and someone has stolen things from your office, you know it. If you come to work in the morning and someone has copied and therefore stolen things from your hard drive, you don't know it.
Until they do something where they're using that information.
Right. So, for example, if suddenly, as you're about to turn out your new product or a clone of it appears on a market in Thailand or Taiwan, you can probably guess that a hack occurred 6 months ago.